Hey everyone, you are watching the SBD Odds Pod brought to you by sportsbettingdime.com, your best source for sportsbook reviews, betting 101s, futures, and all the news and analysis you can handle. I am your co-host, Matt McEwan, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Michael Smith. Frank, what's up, buddy?
Wow. What's going on, Matt? It's great to be here. I'm excited for some basketball, man. I'm feeling good. That's all I've been doing these past couple days is just watching League Pass, so I'm excited to get into it.
I love it. I love to hear it. Yeah. So, as Frank just basically mentioned, we mentioned this last week, episode 8 of the SBD Odds Pod. We're going to be transitioning a little bit here. We're going to be talking a lot more basketball, obviously, with the NFL season, being in a little bit of a break here until free agency, the NFL draft a little bit further down the road. But I'm sure we'll still, here and there when storylines come up, we'll talk a little bit about that. But over the next, 4-6 weeks, we got some really exciting stuff going on here in basketball, both NBA, college hoops, Frank. I'm excited for this, even though we won't be offering, necessarily the single game picks in this podcast with the NBA college basketball. We're going to focus a little more on futures, but, make sure you are following us on Twitter at SBD. I am at SBD_Matt. Frank, where can they get you for all your picks? Because we are going to release them over social media.
Yeah, like Matt's saying, this podcast is not going to be a good spot to actually dish out picks, but we're still going to do it. You can find me, Frank Michael Smith _ on Instagram, and we'll have it on both those. We'll share it on the story. We'll get everything for you.
Absolutely. So with that in mind here, Frank, I wanted to answer just a few questions that I find come up pretty often, around futures betting. Number one here, what is value? Frank, I hear this one all the time. This is pretty common in just, regular betting, single game betting. Wherever you are, you hear value. You hear it quite a bit with futures because, these odds are so long, right? So what is value? And the one, common misconception I find with value is people think this means you're picking an underdog. This doesn't mean that, right? So what is value? The definition of value in sports betting is basically whatever you've handicapped this team at. So whatever you find the true probability to be, if that is greater than the implied probability of the odds, then that means there's value, right? I mean, and just to give a quick example here, Frank, let's say a team let's say you're getting plus 100 on whatever. Let's say so-and-so to win Rookie of the Year. That implies 50% chance that player wins the award. Well, Frank, if we're sitting here and we say, you know what, I think there's a 60% chance that person wins the award, then boom, that is value. Okay, so we got to stop thinking about value as, only applying to plus odds or underdogs. A favorite can still provide value, right?
Yeah,
any notes there, Frank?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the easiest way to think about it is, if you're trying to guess a spread like we were trying to do for the Super Bowl, let's say the Bucks, they're getting 3 points. Well, they should have been minus 20, so there's inherent value there. We thought the Chiefs had value. We said, that should be up. They should be minus 4.5. We thought there was value there because it was only at 3. Now, we were dead wrong, but that's how to think about it. It's pretty simple.
Were we ever? Another question that we get, and again, we've kind of addressed this one already, so I'm just going to be really quick. Why do odds move? Frank, you've said this, money, right? It's player news. If when James Harden was traded, that's the kind of thing, this player news, injuries, trades, any sort of update, this will, incite some sort of movement. Also, money, of course, right? So if somebody comes in and lays down $100,000 on Kevin Durant to win NBA MVP tomorrow, well, I'll tell you what, his odds are likely going to move. They're going to get a lot shorter at that sports book and probably others very quickly after as well. So that is why the odds move. Frank, I'm going to toss this one up to you to answer first, and then I'll come in. What are some of your pros and cons of betting futures?
Well, definitely the pro is you get to have more fun because your bet doesn't last one night. It lasts 4 to 5 months, depending on when you take it. So, if you're looking at betting from an entertainment perspective, which the majority of bettors do, you can milk this 1 unit bet for 4 to 5 months. I mean, that's the best pro, right? Am I wrong there?
No. I mean, hey, assuming you've made a good bet and your team isn't out of it after a couple months, right?
Right. Yeah.
You absolutely should. And I had that one down here too. Like you said, the entertainment value. It keeps you invested a little longer. Now that also, can serve as a con to some people, right? Where, you're tying up part of your bankroll in one bet for an extended period of time, right? So there's a lot of bankroll management that needs to be considered here. Obviously it's not a great idea to tie up 50% of your bankroll in bets that aren't going to be settled for, like you said, 4 to 5 months, right? So there's other pros, and you kind of said it too. This is a bit of a lottery ticket, right? Like, this is your opportunity to get some that big payout. It's chase that big number, which, as I've said, isn't always a good idea. But you're very rarely gonna find an opportunity to bet a team that's any longer than like 11-1 in a single game, right? That's about as good as the books will offer you. So this is your opportunity to take on those 25-1, 30-1, and hopefully down the road. And this is at least the way that I play a lot of futures. I like to set up potential hedges later on in the season, right? So I bet a lot of win totals, a lot of playoff yes nos, things like that. But as we talked last week about NFL futures, like I'm certainly not afraid to sprinkle a little bit down on a champion. So you can paint so many different faces on futures, and there's many pros, there's many cons. It's just, what do you want out of sports betting, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you're more the sharp type, these are probably not great bets. If you're looking for some entertainment, if you take a team that's a perennial contender, like some of these teams we're about to mention later in the episode for the NBA MVP, there's a chance that team is going to be in it all season long. You will be able to milk that bet.
For sure.
Yeah, and the finals, that's an episode for later on, but very similar to these MVP bets we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. So, Frank, MVP. Let me drop this on you real quick here, because these odds have changed so much since opening. Back in basically October is when we saw these NBA MVP odds open, and back then, Frank, here were the top 5 contenders on the odds board here. So you had Giannis coming in at 6-1, Luka Doncic also 6-1. You had Anthony Davis and LeBron both at 7-1, and then you had Steph Curry at 10-1. That's what we opened at. So right now, this is where we sit. The current top 5 in the 2021 NBA MVP odds are as follows: LeBron plus 175, Joel Embiid plus 500. Then you've got Nikola Jokic at plus 525, Luka Doncic plus 1050, Steph still hanging around the same number, 11-1. But before we dive into kind of dissecting the current odds, I also just want to mention, by the way, LeBron was like plus 278 a week ago before Anthony Davis went down. So, obviously sportsbooks are thinking he's going to have to shoulder a heavier load here. His numbers should go up, and so will his probability of winning MVP, obviously, right? So that's kind of the thing in there. That's why LeBron is so short right now. But I've got a couple trends here, Frank, before we dissect this.
Yeah, hit me with it.
This to me, and it's not like it's just happening, but it's becoming more apparent. The NBA MVP award is kind of turning into similar, basically value as the NFL MVP. It tends to go to the best player on the best team in the league, right? 9 of the last 12 MVPs have gone to a player on the team with the most regular season wins. And the only 3 that did not were Russell Westbrook, who, as we all know, he became the second player in the history of the league to average a triple-double over the course of a season. So he did something unbelievably historic, right? And he's actually only one of 2 players who has won the MVP since 1975-76 season who had fewer than 50 wins in the season. So like he's the real outlier here. But the other two were Kevin Durant. He had the second most wins, and LeBron had the third most with the Heat 1 year. Those are the three outliers. And yeah, to me, I mean, it's kind of turning into the NFL MVP, where let's identify the team with the best record and pick their best player.
Well, it's not turning into it. It's been that way since like 1983.
You're right.
Right? Like it's
yes.
I did the same research before going into this. I took a look and I said, I thought immediately about Russell Westbrook. We all know why he won. He broke Oscar's, like, it's the equivalent of like winning the Triple Crown in baseball. Like, people thought it was impossible to do it again.
Yeah.
And should he have won that? Probably not, looking back on it. There's some incredibly high usage rates there, maybe some empty stats on the rebounds. We didn't know any better at the time. But you're right. I mean, like, not every single time is his team the first seed. I took a look at all of them, but they're almost always the 1 or the 2 seed, and it's going to be the best player on basically the top 4 teams in the league. One of those guys is going to win. That star player. It's like an incredibly, incredibly reliable trend here, and that's why it's shocking to me that this is the top 5 right now. It doesn't make much sense.
Me too. And this is why I understand why LeBron's odds have gotten so short now. The Lakers are how many? They're few games back of Utah for the lead in the Western Conference now, right? And I know there's a lot of people who think, hey, the Jazz are going to slow down a little bit like this. They can't keep up this current pace, right? But yeah, I'm with you. And while sports books and some bettors right now are saying, hey, LeBron's usage is going to go up. He'll have, like I said earlier, he'll have to shoulder a heavier load. They've got some pretty tough games coming up here. And, you look at their upcoming schedule here, Brooklyn, and this isn't all back-to-backs here. These are just some of the teams I've pulled out. Brooklyn, Utah, Portland, Golden State, Phoenix. I mean, he's got some tough teams here, and he's going to have to do it without Anthony Davis. So, I mean, what happens here when the Lakers aren't winning these games? There's just no value left in LeBron at this current price, because it basically implies a 35% chance that he wins this award, which I don't think it's nearly that high.
I agree with you. And if you're going by this too, there is no logical reason that Giannis shouldn't be in the top 5. Because if you want to look at his stats, and we're talking about another trend here in a second, they're almost identical to last year, nearly identical. He's playing a couple more minutes. He's scoring maybe a point less. He's not shooting quite as well. Like they're almost the same. Like we're talking about like 1 point off here and there, and he won, and it wasn't really that close. So Giannis should be in that top 5. The Bucks are one of the best teams in the East, even though they're struggling a little bit right now. I think we all expect them to pick it back up, but from the storyline perspective in the NBA, there is a trend that you just don't win 3 in a row. They won't give anyone 3 in a row. It doesn't happen. It hasn't happened since Larry Bird. And before Larry Bird, it's only been done by Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem, I believe. So it's just something that does not happen. I think everyone's out on Giannis, and the stats don't back it up.
Now, with that being said, Frank, do you think there's any value in him?
There should be. You know what? I thought long and hard about this. I was going to include Giannis in my, hey man, there's a reason that we should have Giannis here. He has the same stats, but this is not an award that's given out logically. It's an award that's given out based on storylines, and there's unfortunately no value in him. They won't give it to him.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And as much as because I totally agree with you. I mean, Milwaukee, I think, is going to pick it up. They're going to get Drew Holiday back eventually here. And they will be a much better team with him. But yeah, like you said, Frank, I just knowing that he's won the last 2, I can't put my money in it. I mean, he'd have to get longer than like 20-1, I think, for me to even consider putting any money on him, because
if he got to 20-1, I think that would mean he's injured. Like it's not going to happen.
Or the Bucks have, we're partway through the season and the Bucks are, for whatever reason, like clinging on to, seventh or like sixth, seventh in the East for some reason, right? Like it's
right.
Yeah, something dramatic would have to happen for his odds to get much longer than they are right now. I agree with you, and that's why I will not put any money on Giannis this year. It's just the value's not going to be there.
It says a lot about this award and how like we should probably not be putting as much into it as we are, because it really is a narrative award. And that's why LeBron's odds, another reason why LeBron's odds are so short, is like he feels like he was kind of shorted last year, and this is going to be like the equivalent of a makeup call.
Hey, I feel like he was shorted a little bit last year too. As someone who held a LeBron to win MVP at like 9-1.
I had the same bet.
yeah. I feel he was a little shorted as well. Even though I'm certainly not a big LeBron stan over here, but
you know what? He very well might have won it last year if the season didn't get canceled. That really hurt him. I mean, it was pretty much over. I think actually in the bubble, they voted for the MVP before those bubble games even started. So as soon as like March 13th or 14th, I forget which date hit, it was over. It was a wrap for Giannis.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm with you. And again, I'm coming into this as a person holding another LeBron ticket this year because, I thought he was shorted last year. I mean, when's the last time he won an MVP award, right? Like it's been a while, and he is the best player in the game.
I think it was in
so dominant.
Miami.
Yeah. So I mean, you looked at that first year in LA, the struggles they had, and everyone had kind of written him off. Like this isn't LeBron's NBA anymore. So I loved him last year, and again he opened kind of short this year as we mentioned, but his odds spiked a little bit. I got him at like 11-1 this year, which is just nuts to me.
You can sell that ticket right now.
Well, that's what I'm hoping someone offers me a cash out here, because I'd happily take it. I think they're gonna struggle a little bit. I'm certainly not betting them at this price, but and I mean, like you said though, looking at the rest of the board, like the rest of the top five, I don't love much else there either.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that top five, let me know when you want me to break it down, because I have a systematic way to determine the pick here. I don't hold a ticket, but I determine my ticket, and I can break it down when you want. Okay,
well, I mean, the last, like, I basically, I look at the rest of the top five, Frank. I just want to throw this out there before I'm going to toss it to you. I want you to break this down for me. I look at Embiid, and I just don't trust him to stay healthy. Like, you know what I mean? It's I know what you mean. I don't trust him to keep this pace, just based off of his history with injuries, and at the same time, I don't love Philadelphia to keep up their pace. Like I don't think they're gonna win the Atlantic there. I don't even think they're gonna finish second in the Atlantic. So I'm out on Embiid at that price. When you look to Jokic and Doncic, I think those are two guys that are going to have to do the Russell Westbrook thing. Like they're going to have to do something historic here in order to truly have a shot at this award. I don't see either one of them doing it. So I'm out on the entire top five right now. Obviously, I'm holding my LeBron ticket, but I'm not betting anybody at this current price. So before, I'll get into mine, but Frank, break this down for me.
Sure. So the way I want you to think about this is if you are betting the MVP right now, today, here's how the odds stand. You get Luka Doncic at 10-1. Now, like we mentioned before, Luka Doncic is either going to have to break some historical NBA record or drive the Mavs all the way up to the 1 and 2 seed. Not going to happen. Cancel him. We have LeBron James at plus 175. The odds are way too short right now. If you're like Matt and you have an 11-1, I'm jealous of you, but 175, there's no value there. Even though he will most likely win, you can't bet that number. Steph Curry, 11-1. Similar to Doncic, I don't think anybody thinks the Warriors are actually going to there's no way they get up to the 1 and the 2 seed. So cancel him, and he has to average 40. I mean, he could, but I don't see it happening. Moving on, Jokic plus 525. Probably going to have better stats than Embiid, but the Nuggets sit at the 7 in a very, very, very tough West. I don't see them driving up to the 1 and the 2 seed. Cancel him too. We're left at Joel Embiid. It makes sense. I wish it was a little bit better than plus the 500, 5-1, but they could very well win the East. He has been talked about. There is a narrative driving him right now. If you're betting today, the bet is Joel Embiid.
Okay. I see where you're coming from there, Frank. I personally think you can get a better price on Embiid. Like you said, it's not the best price. I think we can get a little better here. And I mean, we called this, what was it, a month ago or so when Harden was traded, just to, draw back to that and remind people that we do give out good advice here sometimes. We told you not to bet the Brooklyn Nets when Harden was traded. They were all the way down at plus 230. We said it was absurd. The Lakers were plus 220 at that point, and they were looking dominant. So we said wait, and I mean right now you can get them at 4-1, a little longer than 4-1. So I hope you did take that advice. I hope you waited. Frank, as much as I think we can get a better price on Embiid, I don't think we're gonna get that much better.
I could see it going to maybe 6 or 6.5 to 1, but I don't see it much better than that. They're a good team. Philadelphia's playing really well, and he's far and away their best player. It's not Simmons. It's all Embiid this year, and he's shooting the ball extremely well, especially from that mid-range area, which is so sweet to watch. Everyone watching, I don't know how you could see him shoot those shots and be like, dude, I wish you were on the block. Just go to the block. You are so much bigger than everyone else. But he is hitting. He's knocking those mid-range shots down. So, man, it's Embiid's value right now.
Yeah. Okay, I hear you. Now I'm gonna throw you somebody a little further down the board, Frank, that I actually think presents the best value I can find right now.
All right.
It is a player from a Western Conference team, which this is the part that makes me a little nervous because, like you've said, and we've said, they've got to get up to one of the top couple seeds in the conference, or they have to do something historical. Now I think there's a decent enough chance that this player can do either one of those. He can either shoulder his team up to one of those top couple seeds, or he can do something historical here. Or the third one here, Frank, like you said, is the narrative. And I think this player has a lot going in terms of the narrative for him. Okay. Do you have any guesses on who this is?
Yeah, I think you're going to say it's Dame.
I'm going with Dame. Yeah. And, right now you can find him at 30-1. Which I think is crazy. There's a much better chance than, you're looking at like 3.3% for him to win NBA MVP.
You know what? Right now, I love this dark horse. I'm sorry to interrupt, but he's not going to average like 35 like Harden did that one year. They are going to have to win the West. If they win the West and they come in as the 1 seed, yeah, it's going to be fun. I love that.
So this is the thing, right? Right now they're 17-10, and I mean Dame has shouldered them without McCollum for a while now. I think McCollum's only played 13 games this season or so or something.
He'll be out for a while longer.
Not. Yeah, exactly, right? So Dame has done all the work right now, and he's going to continue doing it. And so this is where he has the narrative, right? Where he's lost his backcourt partner. He's doing it all by himself. And I think people are still going to somewhat remember the way he closed out his time in the bubble there. Even though, that's not supposed to go towards any of this voting. But again, like you said, there's the narrative here. He's 4th right now in the league in scoring. I agree. He's not going to average 35. I think he's too unselfish to average 35. He's not going to he is going to pass the ball. He's going to get, his teammates open shots and do what's best for the team. But also what's best for the team is Dame jacking up those threes and getting hot, getting in the groove. This guy literally just makes clutch shot after clutch shot. Every most of the big moments you see in the NBA are Damian Lillard hitting a buzzer beater to win the game for the Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers that didn't really belong in that game. It just seems to happen night after night where they get outplayed, but Dame bails them out. So at 30-1 here, like this is my play. I agree. I don't think they're gonna get up to the 1, but they're only a handful.
That's the only way it happens. The only way it happens is because LeBron's gonna be coming for it. If LeBron gets beat out by them and they win the West, I think he'll end up being a favorite.
You think Damian Lillard will be the favorite?
Yes, if they win the West,
absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think as long as they get up to the top 3, I think as long as Portland finishes in a top 3 spot, like if they can find a way to surpass the Jazz, win the Northwest there, and continue to hold down the Nuggets, you're gonna have a really strong argument there. And again, if he wins 50 games, that kind of puts you in that category, right? You check off that box. So I really like this value at 30-1. I'm not saying, hey, this is a lock. This, make sure you run out and bet this.
There's also less games this year, so 50 games is going to be hard. But
no, sorry, you're right. So when you prorate that to the shortened season,
44,
it comes
45.
to about 43. Yeah, 43, 44.
So
and I'm confident that he checks off that box with Portland this year. And again, just the fact that he's doing all this without McCollum. And Portland is winning without McCollum in the lineup right now, to me is incredible. I don't think he should be this long. I think right now he should be like 15-1, 12-1. Like this, I mean, he's playing out of his mind like he does year after year.
Here's the thing with Dame, and it might work against him here. When's the last time we had a surprise MVP vote? It seems to always be locked up by the final 2 weeks. The favorite going in, we have fun with it. We talk about, could it be LeBron last year? No, it doesn't end up being that person. The favorite in the last 2 weeks ends up winning it. And it's usually not very close. I don't have the exact stats. I don't have the exact stats on this, but it does feel this way. But, I feel like it might change. If he is neck and neck with LeBron and the Lakers for that 1 seed at the end, we could have a really fun one.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And your comment there, I think the last time we really had questions about who was going to win the MVP that late in the season was probably the Russell Westbrook year, right? Where everyone was saying, no, they can't give it to him.
I don't think that one ended up being close. I think he won by a significant margin.
He did, but the odds late in the year were somewhat tight. Like that's to me, that's the closest I can recall in terms of the odds. And if you are wondering yourself, you can go check out the SBD's NBA MVP odds tracker, sportsbettingdime.com. Again, our trackers are the best.
Not even close. The best in the business.
So, but yeah, Frank, I mean, hey, it's a good thing that there's lots of time left in the season. Lots of time for Dame's odds to shorten, but this is, to be honest, like that's the only value I see on the board right now.
Yeah, that and Embiid. And like I said, like that's the bet if you're betting today with Embiid. I'm not saying I love it. I wish the number was a little bit higher, but that's the odds we're working with. I didn't take this Dame thing seriously. I might have to throw a couple tickets in today.
Well, hey, no, you make a great point, Frank. Like your argument is solid. Can he continue doing this, and can he? Because he will have to overtake the Jazz, right? Like Portland will have to win the division. I don't think he's winning the MVP without at least winning the division. And like you said, probably has to be within a couple games at least of that top seed in the West. So. What I'm saying is I think there's a better than 3.3% chance that happens. Yeah.
No, I hear you on that. I love it.
So that's my ticket for today. Like I said, I am sitting on that LeBron one, so I can, kind of start hedging my bets at this point a little bit. But anything else, Frank? Any other players you see on here? Any long shots? You think could see their odds shortened significantly?
No, nothing else really jumped out at me. Yeah, the people that are really happy are the people that picked up Jokic or Embiid when the season started. Those were like, I think one is like 40-1. I will say this, though. If you want a long shot lottery ticket, don't bet the NBA MVP. Don't bet the finals. Do what I did last night and throw a live bet in. I got the Nets last night plus 2,100.
No way, you did, eh?
I got the Nets. I threw $20 on it. My greatest win of the season, maybe my greatest odds-wise win in the last couple years. So, hey, that's my recommendation. But that may be for a future episode, live betting.
What were they down, Frank, when you locked that in?
It wasn't that many. I checked in. It was the end of the third quarter, and they were down 8 or 10. And I knew, it wasn't that many. I mean, they were down
That's
more.
Slow
half.
book. You're picking off. You're exposing the slow books, eh?
Well, I think the odds were a little bit amplified because they factored in that KD and Kyrie weren't playing, and Harden was actually on the bench at the time. So the whole run they made was without Harden in the game. So the bench really came back and won that game for them. I don't know if that factored in, but I saw the number and I was like, that's way too high. So, yeah, that's my advice.
Hey, that's a great bet, Frank. That's a great win.
Yeah, tell me about it. I'm doing the same thing tonight.
Just waiting for that team to fall down 20.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, like I keep saying on this podcast, I reward good things. I keep running it back.
I like it, Frank. I like it. I've got nothing else on MVP. Dame's my bet. Frank's going with Embiid. Let us know who's right here. Which person do you side with? Are you with me and Dame? Are you with Frank and Embiid? Comment here. Hit us up on Twitter at SBD. I am at SBD_Matt. Let Frank know on his Instagram. Frank, drop that one again for us.
At Frank Michael Smith _. You can hit me on there. Hit the DMs. I check the DMs.
And like we said, we will be giving out some picks, probably for the weekend. If there's a big game throughout the week, we'll surface that up. We'll get you some picks. So make sure you're following us there. Otherwise, make sure you're checking, like we said, make sure you're checking in at sportsbettingdime.com, the futures trackers. If you're an NBA, college basketball bettor, if you like betting hoops, you need to be following the futures. We're only like a month away from March Madness here, Frank. It's exciting times. Hopefully we better damn well get a tournament this year,
We'll be having a tournament, or I will I'm leaving the States and I'm moving to Canada with you.
There you go. I don't know if it's going to be much better up here. But we can hide from that. There you go. But yeah, check it out. Follow along. We got championship trackers, player award trackers. You see it all there. That's sportsbettingdime.com. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.